I'm in the process of working on another video at the moment, but on the last one, I got a ton of comments talking about DMD and Devil May Cry 3. Some of you guys were struggling with it, while others said it was straight up unfair. Now, a lesser man would call this slander. But slander is spoken. In print it's libel. So I thought instead of leaving for milk again for another 3 months, why not make a sort of tutorial to help those who are struggling, misinformed, or anything in between. This video isn't going to be like any of my other ones that take forever to make. This is just something I thought I'd make in between the videos I'm currently working on. I'm going to try not to ramble too much and separate it into 2 sections though. The first half will be just the tips, ones that I think will help and others that I think you need to know, and then the other half will be how to deal with each and every enemy, since I know they can be a bit much. Also in this video I'm going to assume you know how to jump cancel. If you don't, it's fine, but I do kind of recommend learning it. You don't need it, but it does make everything way more fun, and it makes what I'm about to explain here a lot easier. So with that being said, we're going to start off a little easy and talk about short hopping. I feel like I don't see enough people talking about it, but it can actually be pretty useful in a lot of situations. Not only does it help you get to the ground faster, so you have more options to attack, defend, or reposition yourself, but getting to the ground faster means you can repeatedly use attacks that will knock back or stagger the enemies you're fighting. And yeah, it is possible to do that to them. Among the slander, libel. I saw in the comments, a lot of people think that the enemies have too much super armor, and I also can't really blame them too much for thinking that, and I'll explain why later. The next one is knowing your weapons, their strengths, and their weaknesses. For example, Beowulf's good at dealing a lot of damage, but it's slower and doesn't have the same amount of range as the other weapons in your arsenal. Cerberus is the opposite. It's fast, has a decent amount of range, can hit multiple enemies at the same time, but it does less damage than every other weapon. I'll put all the pluses and minuses on screen for each weapon, but the main thing I want to talk about here is actually your devil trigger. Now, a lot of you already know that your devil trigger form changes depending on what weapon you're holding, but most people don't know that each of them have their own passives, and those passives have their own strengths and weaknesses too. Beowulf makes it so your defense is higher, you can't be knocked back at all, but you also heal slower. Agni and Rudra deals extra elemental damage. Cerberus's devil trigger gives you 20% extra movement speed and attack speed. Nevin has increased healing and you get access to air raid. And Rebellion's is just the standard devil trigger, except you can float around. I know that all of them have their own weaknesses too, like Cerberus gets less super armor than the other ones, but I don't remember all of them. Iframes. I think a lot of people already know this one, but I feel like it's a good reminder nonetheless. Jumping, rolling, or anything on Trickster will give you iframes. Quicksilver also gives them to you too, but you have to time it right. DMD stun. This is something I've talked about before in a previous video. It isn't a perfect video, but it is a good place to start. So I'd recommend watching it since I'm only going to briefly talk about it here. One of the biggest complaints about Dante Must Die is how the enemies gain too much super armor and can't be knocked down. I think this complaint is not so much the fault of the player, but the fault of the Devil May Cry series as a whole, since they never go out of their way to explain how any of this stuff works. But luckily for you, I will. When enemies get double triggered, there's a little invisible counter in the background that counts your hits. When you hit an enemy a few times with any move that would normally knock them down or back, you'll eventually get through their super armor and they'll be vulnerable for a bit. I think a good and easy one that you can kind of use if you want to understand this is just use Helmbreaker twice and then Stinger. After that, I don't know if you fight a Sloth or one of the 7 Hells or something like that, they'll usually go up in the air. Every enemy has their own set of stun and it's different depending on who you're fighting, so I'd recommend looking it up. Now that we got past that, it's time for a really big one. One that's personally my favorite, and that is all weapons and styles are viable. All of them. I've been hearing this thing for years now, that Trickster and Royal Guard are the only viable styles in the game. What? Where did that come from? All of them are really good. And yeah, I know people don't like to use Gunslinger, but Gunslinger it's fucking broken. And it's always been broken. A lot of its moves just straight up get past the super armor that enemies have from a distance, and they all do a ton of damage. Same for Doppelganger, and definitely same for Swordmaster. And being in the air keeps you a little more safe against certain enemies, for the most part. Weapon switch canceling. This one's gonna be good for staggering the enemy since you're gonna mostly be on the offensive while you do this. If you single an enemy out with this, there's not much they can do against it until another enemy gangs up on you. Depending on your weapon though, it can even be good against multiple enemies at the same time. All you have to do is switch weapons at the end of your combo or in between it to reduce the end lag you'd normally get. Alright, I feel like most of what I've said is pretty solid advice, but out of everything I've said in this video, this is by far the most important thing you need to learn if you're struggling with this difficulty. Devil May Cry 3's combat philosophy is about two things: style and efficiency. They want you to look cool while you kill everything around you, and that is consistent throughout the entire game. But when you get to Dante Must Die, a third thing is added and becomes just as important. And it's part of the reason why I think DMC3 has the best Dante Must Die. This is a fact, and if you disagree with me, I hope your grandparents tell you that you didn't get taller and you didn't get handsomer since the last time they saw you. Strategy: targeting enemies that would be more challenging first so they don't get DT, killing them all so that no one gets it, beating down multiple enemies to a sliver of their health so whoever does survive will die quickly even with super armor. Strategizing while you're fighting and trying to survive is the bread and butter of this game mode. It's rewarding, and once you get it down, it never gets old. Out of all the Devil May Cry games, I consistently come back to Devil May Cry 3 for Dante Must Die the most. It is so fun to me, I love it. Now that we've finished all the tips and stuff like that, we're going to run through the list of all the enemies real quick, along with all the weapons and styles that I'd personally recommend for you when you fight them. I'm not going to bring up Royal Guard too much because, like, come on now. You know what the recommended tech is for Royal Guard. If you're good at it, just use it. 7 hells, light work, just hit them. I know the red one gives people a hard time, but if you hear it doing the little scream or you see it running up towards you and you don't do anything, you're gonna have a bad time. And if you're already in the air and fighting an enemy, just jump away or use your double jump. It works most of the time. And these things do a ridiculous fucking stupid amount of damage on this difficulty. Most bosses in this game don't even hit as hard as these guys. So how do you deal with them? Well, Nevin is completely broken. It just basically gets rid of anything that they want to do, since the bats, along with the little AoE bubble you get around you, destroys their projectiles and leaves them completely helpless. Some people say pair it with Spiral because you can shoot it from a long distance away, but I say that we're actually trying to kill these guys, so use Kalina Ann. It knocks them back in 1 hit on their base form and 2 hits when they're in Devil Trigger. And if you pair it with Doppelganger or Quicksilver, it's basically easy mode. These enemies require the same strategy as the 7 hells, which means just hit them. But I will say, if you don't know how to jump cancel, go for the Bishop first, mainly because of the fact that its fireballs are probably going to hit you off screen a lot. If you do know how to jump cancel, I'd say kill the Knights first, since they're going to be jumping up and down and being more aggressive than almost any other piece on the screen. But if you're on mission 18, don't attack any of the pieces. Let them get to the other side of the board, and if you're fast enough after that, either the Queen will start moving and you can kill it, or the King will start moving a little bit later and you can just go for that and kill it before anybody gets Devil Trigger. If you kill any of the pieces before that, all of them will get Devil Trigger, and then you're gonna have a bad time. Gunslinger with Kalina Ann and Ebony and Ivory are really good here, mainly because you can cancel the weapon and shoot Kalina Ann into Gunslinger, Ebony and Ivory, and just keep going back and forth. If you can jump cancel, Swordmaster with Beowulf and Agni and Ruja are also great here too. Blood Goyles. Use Kalina Ann against them, they'll turn into stone in 1 hit. Regardless of if they have Devil Trigger or not, they're going to turn into stone and die. You can run any weapon against these guys, but I'd honestly recommend Nevin, since some of its moves can hit multiple enemies at the same time. And it's a melee weapon and a projectile weapon in one, meaning some of its moves will turn the Blood Goyles into stone, which is really good against these guys. And since some of them try to hit you from off screen, they'll usually run into some of Nevin's bats and just turn into stone as soon as they get to you. Also, if you hear a twirling sound in the distance or screech, that's them getting ready to hit you. Also, I almost forgot this, if they're turned to stone, they're weak against hammers. They're weak against hammers? They're weak against Agni and Rudra, but also beat them with hammers. Dullahan. Jump towards it, but not over it right away. If you can bait the sword attack out when it tries to smack you out of the air, it'll give you enough time to hit the gem behind its back. And if they corner you and you try to jump over them, they're just going to hit you. So if you're close to a corner, make sure you're always trying to reposition yourself. Rebellion is the best weapon against these guys, and the style that I would recommend is probably Quicksilver, just so you can get behind them easier. There's literally nothing they can do about it when you use it. Soul Eaters. I'd honestly just recommend Gunslinger and just shoot them. It slows them down and you're most likely going to do enough damage to kill them. You can use Ebony and Ivory and charge up your normal shots on Gunslinger, and you can also shoot with the style button and the normal button that you would use to shoot at the same time, and it'll do way more damage than if you just did one or the other by itself. If you do this, I recommend switching the default gun and Devil Trigger buttons around so you have an easier time. Also, Spyro's Gunslinger move is pretty good too. Arachne. Agni and Rudra is their weakness, so it does more damage and you'll stagger them a lot faster. Any style is good against them, but I'd honestly recommend either Swordmaster or Trickster. Trickster for the iframes, especially when you use wall run. Swordmaster for the air combos you can get if you stagger the smaller spiders. If you hear this sound, it means it's going to charge you. And if you hear this one while it's right next to you, they're going to try to hit you with one of their legs. If you see one of them veer off into the background and you don't hear anything, they're most likely charging a web or on a wall waiting to jump on you. And if you see one or two of them hopping around without stopping, don't attack it. Focus on another one since they're hard to hit when they do this. Ugh, the Fallen. By far the most hated enemy in this game. Every style is viable against them because it's gonna be annoying no matter what you do. Royal Guard is probably the best one, but you know, when is it not amazing? You're gonna want to run Agni and Rudra against these guys. Aerial Cross shatters their wings in one hit. When you do shatter them, keep hitting them with Aerial Cross and make sure if they fall back, you don't chase them. They'll stay on the walls or the floors if you do, so just run away and make sure they chase you into an area that's more open so you have more opportunities to hit them. Hell Vanguard. It's a mini boss, but it appears in the game enough to the point where I kinda consider it a regular enemy. If you hear the bell sound, just get ready to dodge or defend. I honestly like this enemy a lot. They're only a problem when they're paired with other Hell Van cards. Since they're so huge, it can be really hard to see what they're doing when there's two of them on screen. Luckily for you guys, that never happens in the main game. When Hell Vanguards are teleporting, there's usually like a black portal or water on the ground before it comes out. If you see a purple mist on the floor in the air, that's usually a sign that it's about to come out. All styles are pretty good against these guys, but Swordmaster is really good if you use Beowulf. The hammer completely just melts their health away. For more skilled players, you can attack Hell Vanguards while they're in their portals, and even jump cancel off of them after they attack you. And I think that's everything so far. I don't know if I missed anything, but if I did, let me know. I might start making more of these since I get a lot of comments saying like, I don't know how to jump cancel, I don't know how to fight the bosses, I don't know how to use Nevin. So if it helps you guys out, then making more of these is worth it. But I think for now, that's pretty much it for this video. I'm probably going to be a little bit more active, so we're fully stocked up on milk. I'm not going to have to go out and make another run, you know, so I will be making more stuff. So yeah, I don't know. YouTube things, subscribe if you want, got a Patreon, all that stuff. I'm gonna go watch Spider-Man 2 for the 50 millionth time because that's the best Spider-Man movie out of all of them. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're wrong. Okay, bye now.